Hello, everyone. Shocking new IRA and 401k rules. Some breaking news here. I wanted to do a YouTube live to dissect and dive into some of the new proposed IRA and 401k rules. Were actually quite exciting. They are shocking in the sense that government actually came together, Democrats and Republicans, to pursue legislation almost on a bipartisan angle. It's very hard to believe, right? The Secure Act 2.0 passed the House on March 29th and almost unanimously, 414 to 5. Isn't that incredible? It shows that retirement legislation is still and should be bipartisan. Yes, you've heard me speak many times about the BB, the Build Back Better Act, which was not bipartisan, which was really pushed through by the Democrats as part of the reconciliation process. And that did not go as well for the Democrats because there was no collaboration. There was no consensus with the Republican side, and it kind of, at this point now, is in a state of comatose or coma because it was not able to pass the Senate, and that Build Back Better bill is dead. It potentially could come back in some various forms, assuming Senator Manchin gets on board. But what we can learn from the Secure Act 2.0, which passed the House a couple days ago, March 29, 2022, is that when you build through consensus, when you work together, good things can happen. And this is a really good bill. What will happen is the bill will now go to the Senate. The Senate has sort of their own version of this Secure Act 2.0, which is actually quite similar to the House version I'm going to focus and discuss on today's video. And then what will happen is there'll be some type of merger of those two bills, and then the president will ultimately sign it sometime this year. So probably close to 99% chance that this bill, almost this form, potentially some other provisions may be added by the Senate in the coming months, will become law. And as you'll see, I think you'll agree with me, really good bill, good stuff. I mean, I give the members of Congress on both sides a lot of credit because these are provisions that are going to help all Americans. So I basically have about 12 or 13 provisions that I focused on because I think those are the most important to people who are in the self-directed IRA, 401k world. And I'm going to start what I think are the most important ones and kind of work my way down the list. So the first one is the RMD age, required minimum distribution age. Remember the Secure Act 1.0, which was passed in December 2019, raised the RMD age from 70.5 to 72. Well, guess what? Secure Act 2.0 wants to raise it from 72 to 75. Good stuff. So again, why is this happening? More people are living longer, which is good. And Congress understands that they want to give people longer to kind of have their money, take advantage of the power of deferral, grow without taking or being required to take distributions. So the RMD, it's going to be in a phase. The RMD would start at 73, starting in 23, and then essentially go to 74 in 2030, and then in 75 by 2033. So it's going to take 10, 11 years to get to age 75, but it's a gradual process. Good stuff, right? The longer the money gets to be in an IRA or 401k, the more it could benefit from the power of deferral, the power of compounded returns. Generally, the more money that will stay in the retirement account, the happier the retirement account holder will be. It doesn't mean that the retirement account can't take some money out of the IRA at an earlier age. It just means they're not required to do so until 73, 74, and 75 by 2033. So very positive provision, and it got a lot of very good feedback, and this is going to pass. The next one's also pretty cool. Enhancements of catch-up contributions for those 62, 63, 64 years old, but not 65. A little strange. In my estimation, should probably go from 60 to the RMD age, whether it's 72, 73, 74, 75. But the way this works is right now there's a catch-up on, this again is for IRAs and 401ks. IRAs, there's a catch-up obviously of $1,000 once you're over 50. $6,000 to $7,000 in 2022. The catch-up will now be indexed for inflation. So hopefully that $1,000 number will go up in future years. It has not been indexed for inflation, surprisingly. But for retirement plans, it's now $6,500, except simple plans, which is $3,000 in 2022. That will be increased to $10,000 in 401ks, $5,000 for simples, only for people age 62, 63, and 64. Good, not amazing. Well, when I say not amazing, I wish they expanded that more to people, let's say 60 to 72, as I mentioned, or the RMD age. Give people a greater chance. It's kind of arbitrary to give them those 3 years. The idea is the retirement age in most businesses or most plans are 65. So they're giving people a couple years before that 65 age threshold, but maybe do it from 55 to 65. Give people a chance to put away more. Even if you want to just do it Roth, so you don't lose tax revenue because you're providing additional tax deductions, I think most people would be okay with it, but it's just limited to these 3 years. So it's good. It just should be a little bit more enticing because, again, most people, their highest income years are generally between 50 and 60 probably, or at least their peak somewhere around there. So give them the ability to put away more. That makes the most sense. The $10,000 is a good limit, good number. It's $6,500 now, so it's going to go to 10. Simple from 3 to 5. Good, but I wish it was for more years. Third, I think most important provision in the Secure Act 2.0, simple and SEP IRAs are going to allow for Roth contributions. Good stuff, finally. Why is this interesting? Well, as you saw for the Build Back Better, Roths are a target of Congress. Now, they're a target, obviously, when they get too big, but obviously Congress enjoys Roths. Why? Because there's no tax deductions with Roths. Roths are after-tax contributions. Yes, you're probably saying, well, that's kind of short-sighted, right? Because, Adam, I've been watching your videos, listening to your podcast, reading your blogs. You've repeatedly said that once you're 59 and a half and the Roth's been open at least 5 years, you can pull all the money out tax-free. Why would the government want to encourage people to do so? Well, as I mentioned before, governments think in the near term. They think for a 2, 4, maybe 8-year period. They don't care about what's going to happen in 20 or 30 years when that's someone else's problem. So they don't love tax deductions because it reduces your taxable income, means less tax revenue for Treasury, less money to do all these important things that Congress wants to do. So they'll kick the can down the curve and let it be someone else's problem. So Roths are a very interesting strategy for protecting tax revenue. So they're going to let people do simple and SEP contributions in Roth. This is supposed to kick in next year in 23. You don't have to, but it's going to give you that option. And they're hoping more people do Roths, so less tax deductions will actually impact tax revenues. The next provision that I wanted to discuss is all plan, when I say plan, I mean 401k plan, catch-up contributions required to be in Roth. So now, when you do catch-up contributions, right, the $6,500 when you're over 50, could be in pre-tax or Roth. They want to force you to do Roth starting in 2023. Why? Again, they are concerned about tax deductions. So they're saying, okay, we'll give you that ability to take advantage of the power of deferral and compounding returns, which ultimately is going to help you down the road. But at the same time, we don't want to reduce our taxable revenue because we have all these programs that we need to pay for. And that's kind of the theme of this Secure Act 2.0, even though I'm a big fan of it, primarily because I'm a big Roth guy. So I'm okay doing without a current deduction in order to take advantage of the power of tax compounded returns. The caveat, the flip side, is that if the government changes the rules on us in 10, 15, 20 years and tell us, hey guys, yeah, we used to love Roths back in 2022, 2021, 2023, but now, we need some more money. So guess what? We're going to force you to pay tax on what you pull out, or God forbid, some other way to trap and tax those funds. That's always a potential option, right? I always give this example. Before 1982, Social Security was not taxable. They needed money. they started taxing it. So I'm not saying they can do that to Roths, but who knows? But the theme is getting more people into Roths, even though down the road it will hurt Treasury. They're concerned today because they have a lot of programs they want to pay for. Allow for employer matching contributions. These are not safe harbor, but if you have a 401k with employees, you participate in a 401k with employees, there's generally a bunch of contribution options. There's employee deferrals, which you as an employee can put in, $20,500 if you're under 50, $27,000 if you're over 50 in 2022. There's something called safe harbor contributions, which the employer will make, let's say, a minimum 3% of employee deferral contribution or safe harbor based off your salary. That's if the plan is a safe harbor plan. There's profit sharing contributions, generally 20 or 25% of the salary, which generally isn't done in defined contribution 401k plans. And there's also something called matching contributions, which is another area. And that will be forced to be in Roth if this provision passes. Same theme, want to basically limit tax deductions. So we'll see where that goes, but again, goes back to the theme of Roth. Next provision I want to talk about is expand the automatic enrollment. So studies have shown if you basically automatic enroll people in 401ks and potentially even state-run IRAs, once people are in, they're just going to start saving. The trouble is basically pushing people to join a 401k plan. No one likes to have money pulled out of their paycheck, even if it's just a few dollars a pay period. So if you automatically enroll them, they may not know, and the money will be automatically pulled out without much effort on the employee's part, and that will force the employee to save more, which ultimately, will benefit everyone. So the idea is let's get people let's get plans to automatically enroll their employees. This way, we'll force them into savings and start teaching good saving habits. That provision will likely pass as well because we've seen it in state IRA programs for those states that have basically state-funded IRA programs for certain businesses that do not offer a 401k plan. Some states require them to offer at least state-run IRA programs. Not perfect because there are limited investment options and limited contribution maximum requirements, but it does at least force people to save through an auto enrollment feature. So I think that's something that we'll see more of in the future. The next one actually could impact solo 401ks quite significantly is the part-time employee 401k eligibility. Right now under Secure Act 1.0, it's 1,000 hours or 3 consecutive years of 500 hours of service. So the idea with the solo K is it's a 401k plan for owners only. There cannot be non-owners other than spouses that work more than 1,000 hours or 500 hours for 3 consecutive years. What Secure Act 2.0 wants to say basically it's 1,000 hours, or instead of 3, it's going to be 2 consecutive years of 500 hours. So they want to make it easier for someone to become eligible for a solo or regular 401k plan. This is more, I would say, significant for solo plans because one of the benefits of a solo plan is you have no full-time employees, thus over 1,000 hours or eligibility for the 500 hours, whether it's 3 or 2 years. You don't have to offer them benefits. You're not subject to ERISA. Administration's lighter, and you have more investment options without having any fiduciary responsibilities to your other employees. But now, by reducing the threshold for part-time employee, you potentially could have more people eligible for a 401k and thus turn the solo 401k into an ERISA 401k plan, which obviously causes the employer to have more administrative requirements and a larger financial burden, whether it's through required safe harbor contributions or just plan testing and administration. So that's something, again, I think you're going to see pass because obviously Congress wants more and more people to be eligible for 401k plans and save. This next one's kind of cool. Also, student loan relief. So they're going to let employers in 401ks and simples actually contribute and match payments that you're making or an employee is making to pay off student loans. So they basically are going to define what a qualified student loan payment is, which is going to be defined broadly, which is good. And essentially it's going to mean any indebtedness incurred by the employee solely to pay qualified higher education expenses. So good stuff. So basically the employer will be permitted to match the student loan payments as a contribution to the retirement plan. Okay, and the employer will, I assume, get a tax deduction for that contribution, but essentially they're going to allow the employer to match the student loan payment as a contribution to retirement. So the employer will basically make a payment to your lender, your student loan lender, and treat that as a retirement payment, get the tax deduction. You're probably content because you're going to help pay down your loan at a quicker pace. The employer is okay because he's doing something positive for you, the employee, and still give them the same benefit because they'll get a tax deduction, and the employee will benefit as well because it will pay down the student debt. The downside, obviously, is it's going to the student loan and not to the 401k, which, is basically taking out of one pocket to pay the other pocket. Good, but from a retirement standpoint, not as strong. And we'll see what happens with this provision. I know some employers have got private letter rulings from the IRS and Department of Labor to basically permit them to do that. And some of the larger companies are doing this already. They want to now open it up to all employers. So again, I think this is something that ultimately will pass as well. But I give Congress credit. It's clever. It's interesting. And obviously we have a big student loan debt issue in this country, and helping students pay off their loans are important. Again, I have plenty of friends from law school. I graduated law school 25 years ago. 22 years ago. God, I don't even remember. Getting old. 22 years ago. And they're still paying off their loans. And these folks are making six figures, and they have been for the last 20 years. So kind of crazy. I love this country, but I think the one issue we have is student education is just way too expensive. Crazy. It shouldn't be. You shouldn't have to. A parent shouldn't have to mortgage their future to have their kid go to college. It's lunacy. So, anyways, I think this is pretty positive. Next one is they're going to make the setup of a 401k more palatable by giving you or the company that sets it up a bigger credit. So basically, they're increasing the startup credit from 50% to 100% of the startup cost of the plan, and basically the entire cost for employee companies with up to 100 employees. And the amount of the credit is increased by a percentage of employer contributions on behalf of the employees, up to a per employee cap of $1,000. So depending on how many employees are participating, you may get up to $1,000 credit. And this isn't a deduction. This is a credit, which will reduce taxable income dollar for dollar. Credits are gold. If deductions are silver, credits are gold. Okay, so really good stuff. And I commend Congress for doing this, because the more companies that set up 401k plans, the more employees are going to be able to save, which is a win-win for everyone. They want to also enhance the savers credit, make it easier for more and more people to get. And it's going to be available to more taxpayers, even with higher levels of adjusted gross income. Again, another positive provision, I think. The more credit you're getting to people that save, the better, hopefully, and more enticed they'll be to save. This is a very interesting, the next provision is a very interesting idea. It's something many people in the retirement space have thought about. They are going to create a national sort of lost and found database, because I can't tell you, I probably get 30 to 50 calls a week. I hear from my team where people are looking for their 401k, right? They worked for a company 2 years ago, it merged, it closed down, it went bankrupt, whatever happened. And you can't find the money because the HR person's not there. The company, as I said, is merged. You don't know who bought it, who owns it now. You can't find it. You think you had a 401k, you weren't sure, and now you're trying to find out if you have one. And trust me, it's like doing the New York Times Sunday crossword puzzle. It's not fun. It's challenging to find your money. A lot of people don't even know they have retirement funds. Why? Because some companies auto-enroll you, or they give you safe harbor matching contributions, even if you don't participate. And you now may have talked to a former colleague and said, hey, Adam, did you know that you have potentially thousands of dollars in a 401k from company X that you left 4 years ago? No, Joe, I had no idea. Well, where do I find company X? Because they were merged or they closed. So good idea. This is going to be available, I guess, through online searches where I'm sure you'll just plug in some information and you'll be able to find if you have any money. There are some sites that allow you to do that now, but it's not super accurate. So this is going to be something that's run, I assume, by the government, whether it's the DOL or whoever, because it's a big issue. There's probably trillions of dollars that are left on the table from employees that have left companies and don't even realize or have known that they have 401k funds. So good stuff. Next thing is they want to fix, this is kind of the last provision I want to go through. They want to fix inadvertent IRA errors along with 401k. So they want to make it easier if you screw up, whether it's an RMD or a distribution or something, they want to make it easier for you to fix it. So they're going to do it through the Employee Plan Compliance Resolution System, or EPCRS. And they also want to include IRAs and include the ability to fix inadvertent errors and make that process much easier, because right now it's not easy. They have better programs for 401k plans where you can correct innocent mistakes much quicker and easier and less costly than with an IRA. And they want to bring the IRA into this world. So again, kudos to them. Really good stuff. So that's the big stuff. The next step is the Senate. This bill was passed the House on March 29th. It's going to the Senate. We already know the Senate has some other things they've looked at too, including allowing Roth IRAs to be rolled into Roth 401ks, which I've been pushing for years. There's some other provisions they're also looking at. What I expect to happen is they'll spend the next few months. It's going to go through committees. They're going to take the House bill, massage it, play with it, probably add some stuff, just like some clay, and they're going to mold it into a new bill. And then at some point, it will be ready for the president to sign. But I think the 12 or so provisions I mentioned, I think you can expect pretty much all of them will become part of a final bill that will be approved by the House and Senate, ready for the president's signature. And this year could be, I don't think it will be in the summer, probably the fall. It's already April, months on this summer break. So I'd say by the fall, we should have a good bill, probably towards the end of the year. Obviously, we know what happens in Washington. Things happen, whether it's what's going on in Ukraine or something else, Supreme Court justice nominations that take up floor time and debate time. So it's going to take some time to get this done, but it will get done. I can pretty much bet on it. And I think it's going to be very close to what I've just discussed. So overall, my opinion is it's excellent. I think you saw it with the fact that almost all members of Congress supported it, which, again, after what we saw with Build Back Better, which I'm actually kind of happy it didn't pass, just from a retirement tax standpoint, because there were some really nasty retirement provisions that I did not agree with. I think many Americans did not as well. And speaking with members of Congress, I think they heard our voice and they understood our concerns. And I think that's one of the reasons that, number one, the provisions got watered down. And number two, ultimately, Senator Manchin, Senator Sinema potentially had issues with them. It did not get through vote. But there's a good chance there will be a reiteration of the BBB bill. It's not going to be called that. That name is gone. It will be called something different, and we'll have to see whether some of these IRA provisions that were in the BBB will be actually in a new reconciliation bill. Not sure. I don't think so, but it's possible. I mean, they have been vetted. There's a money raise on some of these, so they're on the shelf. They can be plucked out at any point, used to raise revenues, even if they're quite small for some of these programs. But I think the proof's in the pudding when you work with the other side and you get consensus and there's collaboration and communication, good stuff happen. And Secure Act 2.0, actually twice as big as 1.0. And I know RITA, the Retirement Industry Trust Association that I'm a part of, supported this bill. I think pretty much everyone in the retirement industry supports it. There's some really good stuff. My favorite stuff is the RMD age and the enhancement that $6,500 to $10,000 if you're 62 to 64. I just wish they expanded that age group to maybe like 55 to 65, let more people have a chance to catch up right? Because what happens when you're sometimes in your 20s or 30s, you have expenses, whether it's loan payments, you're just getting married, you want to buy a house, you're not really able to focus on retirement saving yet. You're still young and just kind of focused on your career. As you get older, you realize how important it is to save for your future, for your children, for your family, and giving those folks a chance to make up for lost time with higher contribution thresholds, I think, is a positive aspect, and something that I think many people will support. So otherwise, it's breaking news. It's shocking in the sense that Democrats and Republicans work together, which is great. Wish that happened more often, but it shows it could be done. There's hope for Washington. And retirement legislation, retirement account rules, laws, generally are bipartisan and have support across the aisle because they work. It helps all of us. The retirement system, I believe, is the best governmental system out there because it's based off pure mathematics, deferral, compounded returns. We know it works. So kudos to members of Congress for getting this done. I know the Senate's going to be focused on also getting their version of this bill passed, and then there'll be some integration of both bills, and ultimately it will get signed by President Biden, this year. So more to come, but just wanted to give everyone a heads up. This is good stuff. We saw the president released a budget with a tax on asset appreciation, not earnings, for the folks that have over 100 million in assets. So that's the topic for another video or podcast. There, I'm going to have some other thoughts, whether it's constitutional or not, to tax people's appreciation of wealth without triggering income. I'm not sure that's even constitutional, but it just kind of shows you, where the Biden administration is going from a taxing standpoint. You saw it in this bill where they're focused on Roth-ification. They understand that they want to encourage people to save for retirement. At the same time, they're trying to protect tax deductions because they need as much money as possible to pay for some of the programs they feel are very important for the country. Whether we agree or not, we'll see, but ultimately they're in charge, so they can determine what programs are important to them, and tax revenue is the way to pay for them. So thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed today's live. Probably do another one next week. If you guys have questions, let us know. Otherwise, appreciate you guys spending some time with me, and I'll talk to everyone again next week. Take care.